Right now, there are two groups when it comes to personal branding or branding in general. These groups are what I call the forgettable brands and the intentional brand. And whether I like it or not, you belong to one of these groups. So, for instance, if people cannot clearly state or identify who you are and what you do, then you don't have a brand. You are simply just making noise. Therefore, let's talk about these two groups of brand identities so that you can identify which group you belong to and how you can improve your personal branding or your business branding. Now, the first group, which is the forgettable brands, this is where somebody on the internet just posts anything at random. Today is a flyer, tomorrow is a video, the next day is a motivational speech, the following day is vibes, business advice. So it's like you just post things at random. You don't have a specific direction. Let me use podcast shows for instance. Let's say you have a podcast show on YouTube and then you invite people at random. Today you have a musician, tomorrow you have a doctor, the next day you have a business consultant, the next day you have an NGO person. So it's like you are bringing random people, right? It becomes difficult for you to associate your brand with something, right? But then if you decide that, okay, this is my podcast show on YouTube, I only want to be focused on entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs or businesses, then you decide that, okay, I'm only going to bring business people who are into entrepreneurship. So every day, any person you bring is going to be the same direction. You're talking about entrepreneurship and businesses. Now, it means that you have a clear direction. So if I see your podcast, I can say that this podcast, they talk about entrepreneurship and businesses. With the first group, there are people who don't really know what they want, asking what they want. They just post random things or do random things. And that means that that person does not have a brand. And opposite of that is an intentional group, a group of people that have already intentionally planned the kind of direction they want to go with their brand. Like I gave earlier as an example earlier, right? So right now you need to ask yourself, based on what you are posting on the internet, do you have a brand or you don't have a brand? And here is the most interesting part. When you don't sit and make the decision on where you want your brand to go, you automatically become part of the first group because branding does not happen by accident. It happens intentionally. You have to intentionally plan where you want your brand to go before you achieve that intentional branding. If you don't, often the audience will decide for you. And when the audience decides for you, in most cases, you might not really like it. Why? Because you are just posting things at random, hoping that something will click. And the audience will end up deciding what will work for them or what will not work for them. And you might be wondering, why should you take branding serious? When you don't have a brand, it means people do not trust you. They might watch you, but they will not take action. But when you have a brand, it means that you are building a trust. So it is through that trust that will lead somebody to liking your content, to follow your page or channel, even to eventually doing business with you. Brand is all about trust. And you need to make sure that the brand you are building up a conscious effort towards achieving a target or towards building an image for yourself or your business so that you can build trust with your audience. So if today a viewer on TikTok sees your video, you're talking about, let's say, freelancing, tomorrow you're talking about how to make money online, the next day you're talking about how to write a proposal, the next day you're talking about how to communicate effectively with clients, they realize that, oh, okay, this person is always talking about remote working and freelancing. That means that, okay, I also want to learn about freelancing. Oh, I'm already a freelancer. I want to associate myself with this person. Then it means that you have built the trust. And now the person has come to a point whereby they feel familiar with your content and they believe they can trust in your content. So in the next part of this video, I'm going to be defining what branding is and which direction to take your brand or your personal brand